Everything has changed. Everything is a lot more about communication, whereas my generation is more set to adapt to the man. We tend to take a step back and let him lead. And I find that with the men, they're completely confused. They don't know if they should lead. They don't know if they should let her lead. There's a lack of communication on both people's part so that no one is really being honest about what it is they want, where they see their ideal relationship going, because everyone is just confused about the dating landscape right now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. I'm your host, May Bugenhagen. I am the founder of Two Asian Matchmakers, a boutique matchmaking company that started in Los Angeles, California. I help men find a lovely Asian woman partner all across the US and in Asia. So if there's any ladies out there who want to be part of my Rolodex, please join me at twoasianmatchmakers.com, fill out a profile, and every week I bring on a special guest. This week I have Elizabeth Tritsch, kind of like Hitch, but it's her real name. Her name actually means to love and to flirt. She specializes in helping create profiles that attract, how to enjoy dating while asking the right questions, which helps you choose wisely, and how to move it forward to a loving, connected relationship through a mix of step by step strategies, techniques, and methods layered with role playing and direct feedback. She is her students' biggest cheerleader and most honest coach, leading them to happy and loving relationships. So, we're going to talk about dating today. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth. How are you?
Great. And thank you so much for having me, May. It's such a joy and a pleasure to always see you.
So, Dare to Date Differently is the name of your company. Can you tell us how you started, when you started, and why you started?
Sure. Started back in 2018. I had just gotten divorced. I had been in the fashion industry my whole life, and it's interesting, both my marriage and my career as one of the leading personal stylists for major brands started within weeks. Both ended 13 years later within weeks. And I decided to be perfectly honest, I was depressed after being divorced and losing a job and couldn't get out of bed. And all of my friends suggested, you need to, like, at least, Elizabeth, take a go out, make yourself feel good about yourself. Go on a dating app. So I went on a dating app. I figured I could pull myself together for a couple of hours. And from there, I started going out, getting to know people. I was able to get out of my head and focus totally on the person sitting in front of me. And I started enjoying dating. And from there, that led to studying all about dating and relationships and love and doing a lot of inner work and personal development on myself. And so then I created a program, which is now turned into the Art of Dating Academy. And it's an 8-week program that helps singles learn how to date the right way because what they're doing isn't working. I mean, we all hear about all the horror stories about dating apps or meeting in person. So I help bridge the gap and help them get to where they want to be, which is a happy, loving, and connected relationship.
So, is there a certain age range you focus on, men or women, and what areas? Like, if can anyone work with you throughout the country or the world or
Yeah.
where?
So what a great question. So most of my, probably about 85, 89% are women. The rest are men, mostly predominantly in North America because of the time zone. I've worked with everyone from Canada, North America and Canada, to Alabama, to Boston and Santa Barbara. So anywhere that's in North America and Canada.
So, what are your main niches when you help them prepare to date these people in their 40s, 50s, or 60s? Like, what do you tell them to focus on?
So first, let them get very clear on what it is they actually want. And it's interesting because I'm finding a lot of the women in their late 50s, early 60s, they're not actually looking for marriage. They are looking for monogamous relationships, either living together or even living separately, but having a monogamous relationship. And I'm finding the men all want to get married.
Why do you think that? I mean, why do you think the men all wanna get married? They're just more comfortable in a routine, have someone help them, wait on them, serve them. Like, what do you think is the reason for that? Like, women are just way too independent, or they don't really need the men for financial reasons at this age, 50s and 60s?
So a lot of it, they are financially secure. If they've been in a relationship before, they've sort of lost themselves, which is what happened to me in my marriage. And so they've worked really hard on personal development, finding themselves, building a network of like minded men and women in their world. So they don't want to go back to repeating the patterns that they did in their previous relationship. And with the men, I find that because of the way our society is set up, where, it's stoic to be on your own and to be an island and not to ask for help. So I find that men don't have as much as a network of supportive people in their life, maybe one or two male friends, but not necessarily a lot of women friends, not a wide number of male friends that support them. So they tend to want marriage so that they get the love, the support, the companionship, um, sex more on a regular basis. And they tend to do better. And they say that men live longer when they are in happy, loving, connected relationships.
So how do you explain, or how do you motivate the women to date when they aren't really looking for marriage in their 50s or 60s? Do you say that, hey, the men who are dating you are going to look at you if you could be a potential wife, but how do you navigate that between the two, knowing that they want two different things majority of the time?
So, given that that's been my findings, there are always, if someone wants marriage, they can certainly find someone who wants that as well. If someone wants a monogamous, intimate relationship that doesn't involve marriage, there is someone out there for them as well. I mean, I believe there's probably 5 to 10, maybe 20 people out there who are perfect for you. It's just a matter of communicating who you are, what you're looking for. And down the road, once the women are in the relationships, there's always the possibility they might change their mind.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So why do you think men and women have such a hard time dating like the second time around? Kind of like you got out of your long marriage. What are some of the challenges that the women face? Let's just talk about the women to start off.
So I find, so not necessarily with the more mature woman chronologically, I do find that with a lot of the millennials, they have been listening to TikTok and all these videos where they bash the opposite sex. This is both for the men and the women. So I find that group of people have such a harder time because they haven't learned how to understand the nuances of the opposite sex and appreciate them for what they are. And then for the more mature woman who might be divorced or widowed or maybe never even married, everything has changed. Everything is a lot more about communication, whereas my generation is more set to adapt to the man. We tend to take a step back and let him lead. And I find that with the men, they're completely confused. They don't know if they should lead. They don't know if they should let her lead. there's a lack of communication on both people's part so that no one is really being honest about what it is they want in a relationship, where they see their ideal relationship going, because everyone is just confused about the dating landscape right now.
I'm just trying to think back, like, to the times when I was dating back in my 20s or 30s, and then now, knowing what I know now, being in the industry for about 14 years, if I were to be single and out dating again, I don't think I would be so set in my ways that I scare the men away. I would probably focus more on the positive stuff, right? You don't wanna focus on the negative stuff. I mean, with all those TikTok videos, it seems like if you're single, you wanna find an influencer who you could follow that talks about dating positively so you don't get into this negative rut idea or men bashing idea, or I guess just your mindset and your attitude about dating really, really matters. So I'm just thinking, gosh, if I were to date now, and it makes sense exactly what you said. Like back in the days, women were adapting to the men and just kind of letting the men lead. But nowadays, it's like women are talking about what they want, what they are open to, what they would be willing to put up with. But do you just kind of get to know the men when you're dating and then slowly weave in the information about yourself and communicate those things and those boundaries as you're dating and not just put all your boundaries up front or all your expectations up front, but you just slowly weed those things in as you're dating and talking and communicating? Like, what do you suggest?
So I suggest the first date, before you even get to the date, ask the pertinent questions, the things that matter to you. If you are focused on family, ask the other person, what's your relationship with your family members? That's going to give you a big tell as to whether they're close to their family, whether they're not. Ask the questions about if it's long distance, are you open to moving? How do you see yourself 3, 5, 10 years from now? Ask these questions before you even go on the date. And then when you do go on the date, just focus on having fun, relax, um, get your favorite beverage and just communicate with love and compassion and with the focus of building a relationship. Not about building love, but building a relationship where you're deciding, is this a person I want to go out with the second time? Are they asking me questions about myself? Am I asking questions about them? Are we having a really fun dialogue where we enjoy each other's company so that we want to see each other the second time? And then the second, third, fourth date, once you're building this rapport, then you can open it up to more things about yourself. But I believe that first date is just about having fun and building a connection.
I mean, it's hard to know if you're willing to move someplace because when I was dating my husband, who's my husband now, when we were dating, I did not think I would move to Colorado. Like, I did not think I would move, back to LA or move to New Orleans. Like, you just don't know those things until life happens. I feel like so much can change in your 20s and 30s and 40s, even that it's really tough to figure out, okay, are you willing to relocate? Am I willing to relocate? Like, things just happen when you fall in love, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I am gonna backtrack on what I just said because that is absolutely not the question you're gonna ask before you go out with them. It's more about your core values and what you care about. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna backtrack on that and say, don't ask those questions until you get to know them a little bit
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm thinking that most people tend to date in their environment
Mhm.
unless they're traveling and they meet someone on vacay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are some advice you can give to the men out there who are dating, who want to get married again? What do you suggest they put on their dating profiles to really send the message that, "Hey, I would like to get married again and find someone amazing."
I think exactly what you just said. I'm looking for a long-term relationship leading to marriage. Boom. What's so great about that is you're direct, you're honest, you're leading with your heart, and you're going to eliminate all of those tire kickers, all those people who just want to waste your time. And wouldn't it be better to have 5 people that really resonate with you, who want what you want, versus going through 100 people and wasting your time and your energy and despising the apps and despising dates because you weren't willing to be clear about what your end goal is. So I think putting exactly is, don't have a laundry list of what you want. Lead with who you are. Tell a little story or give some, my friends say I'm blah, blah, blah. That lets the person know who you are versus I want someone like this and this height and this eye color and all this ridiculous laundry list. Because if you look back at all of your relationships, very rarely did they look like exactly what you imagined that you would be with.
Yeah, I agree, I agree. So when the men are doing their online dating profiles, what I found as I'm helping women do online dating and having her look at profiles is men just don't put enough information on their profile sometimes. Like it seems like they're maybe just filling it out while they're on the phone waiting at Starbucks or something. Like there's just lack of information in there. So all you see are photos and you're like, I don't even know anything about him. So then I just swipe left, like I just don't make the match on her behalf if that's the case. So what are some things that you suggest that men pay attention to um, on the women's
So
profiles?
So definitely, because men are visual and I believe that men have to be visually attracted to a woman to even be interested. Whereas women, we tend to look at characteristics or value intelligence and communication more than visual appeal. And so men definitely need to fill out their profile as far as what they're looking for. You could just say 3 words about yourself. Um, I have found that the majority of men who put very little, they're one of 2 camps. One, they're still in a relationship, and two, they're very new and out of a relationship and they just don't know what to do. And that's where you and I come in, and other dating coaches and matchmakers who can help guide them and how to paint the picture about who they are, who they truly are, and showing photos that show them doing things that they're interested in.
So, would you suggest a man put in 5 years, I see myself like this, and this. In 5 years, I see myself married again. I don't know, like list other things that they see themselves. Like, is that a way of storytelling? What do you mean by storytelling for them?
So, storytelling would be more about who they are. Let's say they're into marathons. So, you would have a photo of them running a marathon. You would say, I, before I got into my relationship, I went out with someone who was really into biking. And that was all he talked about during dinner. But so we put a photo of him and his bike. And I really wish he had said, my passion is bike riding, because it would have given me more insight and let me know, do we have something in common? And if we don't, that's okay. But is this something that he's so passionate about that he wants a partner who's passionate about that as well? So painting the picture more about what they're into. If they're into their career, there's nothing wrong with saying, I really love what I do and I enjoy working, because that's going to let the other person know this is a person who values work. So get curious. Do they value it because of what it can provide for them? Or did they find joy and pleasure in what they're doing? But if whatever they say, ask the opposite gender or the person who's interested in them can ask questions related to what they put in their profile to gain
So
more observation, more information.
so you don't suggest people omitting what they're passionate about because you might as well just put it out there because if it's not a match, you want people to self-select out so you don't
Yeah,
waste each other's time, right? So there's nothing wrong with being your true self and listing the stuff that you're quirky about or that you're passionate about
yeah.
so the other person can either relate to you or reject you and move on.
Right, right. Being your true authentic self, I find is the only way that will lead to a happy, loving relationship. Because
So
there's enough quirky people in the world to attract other quirky people. And then there's also quirky people who like very linear people and vice versa. But
yeah.
knowing, a little bit about the person, don't reveal it all, have some mystery, can lead them to, yes, self-select.
So in your opinion, what do you think women are so picky about that they shouldn't be picky about? What are some things that you come across that you're just rolling your eyes when the women said, "I want him to be this"? Like, are there anything that you
Um,
wanna warn the
so
women?
yeah, I think height is ridiculous. I mean, unless you are 5'10", 6 foot, I'm not really sure why you want someone so tall, especially if you're not procreating. If you are just looking for a relationship and you're not looking about the future and your legacy and having tall children, just focus on core values, focus on things that really matter. And with women and men who are 50s, 60s, does it really matter what they did for a living or are doing? Because most likely they're going to be retiring in 5, 10, 15 years. So my question would be, what are they going to do after they retire? What do they enjoy doing that they might continue to do? So, and with men and women making their own money, you don't really need to marry someone for status or money or date someone for those things. You can create those on your own.
So, what if I have good assets and good money? Let's say I have 5 to $10 million and I want my future partner to also have pretty good financial portfolio. How do I go about asking the men? How do I figure out how much they're worth and their assets?
So, my question for someone who really cares about that is, do you care about how much they're bringing? Or are you really caring more about, are they a spender, a saver, or an investor? I mean, because those are two different things. They could have a huge portfolio, they could have a lot of money, but they could also be in debt. They could be buying things to impress someone. They could be making bad investments. They might have a portfolio, but it could be in all non blue chip stocks. So I would ask more, would you consider yourself a saver, an investor, or a spender? Or what I love telling my students, if you had $1 million windfall, what three things would you do first? And that tells you if you mention 1 million and they're like shocked, they're probably not they probably are not at that level. So you're getting some intel about how do they react to the question. What are they doing with the money? Are they investing? Are they saving? Are they spending it? Those to me are more important than how much they have in the bank.
Okay, good questions. Good questions. So, do men really care about how much money the women have or not really?
I find less so. It
Mhm.
could be because of the way our society is set up, where men are providers. but I do meet a lot of women who are very, very successful, and they're okay dating men who are not as successful as long as they have a passion, as long as they have something they enjoy, and as long as they're communicative and make a good partner.
So, what is something I should have asked you that I didn't?
Hmm. So back to the women not wanting to get married,
Mhm.
I think a lot of that does have to do with the finances. Because if they're at a certain level of income or, comfort level, that might be a reason why they're less likely to get married because they don't wanna merge funds, and they don't wanna carry on debt that is not theirs.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think as we get older, you're right. Like we're not looking, I need to find a husband, I need to have kids. And that's why you commingle your funds and things like that. I could see why women think that because if they're financially set from their first marriage or, never been married at all and they've been focusing on their career and they are doing really well, they're like, I don't need to commingle my funds if it's not necessary. So I could totally see that happening. Tell me any fun success stories you've had in the time that you've been doing this. What is a success story that you dealt with that you thought, well, maybe this is a challenging person to work with or scenario, and then they found someone amazing after working with your program?
So one of my very first clients, beautiful, beautiful young girl, 5'10". So I understood she wanted someone 5'10" or taller. And I'm like, okay, I get that. You're not 5 feet and wanting someone 6 foot. So I always give my students or my clients two deal breakers. So that was one. And our second one, he had to live in Hoboken, New Jersey, or be willing to move there. And I'm like, wow, that's going to be hard because living in Manhattan, a lot of people want to stay in Manhattan or they want to get married and move to Connecticut. They don't think about Hoboken. And so she actually met him between week 4 and week 5 of us working together. And they got married this year and they're expecting a baby boy in April. So love that.
Yeah, I
And I mean, that was something I, you know, wanted it and she believed it was possible. And that's why she found this amazing person.
I also feel like matchmakers or date coaches who work with a small list of clients do better with their clients because their focus is only on, these 5 people or these 8 people or these 10 people. And I really feel like that helps, because you are so focused on helping this person and you give all your time and energy. But you said your business started in 2018, right? So
Yeah.
2018, and they just are expecting their kid now. How long have they been married?
So they moved in during the pandemic. They bought
Okay.
a house together,
Okay.
moved in, renovated the house, and yeah,
Yeah.
they had a nice, lengthy engagement
Yeah.
or living together. They spent most of the 2 years fixing up this house they bought in Hoboken.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that's quite a length of time. Like, I remember way back when I first started doing this, probably the clients would ask me, "What's your success rate?" And I'm like, now when I answer that, what's my success rate? It's difficult because the marriages or the relationships, sometimes people don't get married. They just live together and they're dating. Or I had a success story recently. They just got married after 8 years of knowing each other and 8 years from when I introduced them to now. So that was a long engagement or a long time dating. Like sometimes the success stories expand over, not just 1 or 2 years. I mean, it takes 8 years to call it a marriage success, but when they're dating exclusively, I feel like that's enough of a success story sometimes, or they take their profiles offline and say, okay, I want to be exclusive with you. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
for me, a success would be if they get into the relationship that they want
mhm,
and they're still in it,
yeah,
whatever that looks like.
right.
Because with my clients, I don't have any judgment in the type of relationship they want.
Mhm,
And it runs the gamut from marriage, monogamous relationships, living together, living separately, polyamory.
mm,
There is no judgment, but it's whether or not they're still in the relationship and they're happy with that relationship and their partner. To me, that is a success.
yeah, yeah. Now, what is your plans for Dare to Date Differently? Any plans for 2024? Like, are you doing any new programs, or what are you promoting right now, or what are you working
Yeah.
on?
So, my Art of Dating Academy, which is an 8-week program, will be starting in January. And then 3 times a year, I'm going to do a live 3-day intensive event where the women get a glam squad. So they get their hair and their makeup. They get photos for their dating profile or whatever they want to use it for, and they learn how to flirt. They learn all the techniques and the skills. And I have a couple of speakers come in. And then the last day, there is a cocktail party with curated single eligible men for them to meet.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Now, before I let you go, what is one flirting dating tip you can tell people that you might not normally hear? Like, it's not a common flirting technique, but something that you really feel like you tell your audience and that it's worked for them, like a little dating flirting secret.
So, the best way to flirt is to go over to someone and ask them a question. It could be, um, let's say you go into a restaurant and you're sitting at the bar. What's good on the menu? Or have you been here before? What do you recommend? It's an innocent remark, or innocent question. Or I've had my students walk down the street clearly wearing a watch and saying, "Excuse me, do you know what time it is?" And it's just a way to gauge, are they interested? Are they single? Did they answer your question and brush you off? Did they ignore you? Did they ask a different question? Like, it looks like you have a watch. Why are you asking me? Are they open to a dialogue? So for me, it's smiling and asking a question and just being light and breezy and happy and fulfilled with yourself and with your life.
So, do you actually have them wear a watch and then ask people that question? Are you looking for if the man is going to notice that, or if he brings it up, or you don't even care? Like, it's just
It doesn't
a
even
question.
matter. It
Okay.
doesn't. It's just a question to increase dialogue and see if there's any type of reciprocity in the communication.
So, you are a student in your class, and you ask me, I'm a guy, and you ask me what time it is, and I would say, but you have a watch on. Like, what would you respond to that?
Oh my goodness, you're right. But I don't think the time is correct. Will you?
I would think you could even say, "Oh, you're right, I do have a watch, I just wanted an excuse to talk to you."
You could say that too.
That would be a total
That's a
flirting
lot more
moment.
forward.
That's awesome, that's awesome. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for your time today and chatting with me and telling me a little bit about your business, and I will put all of your information in the show notes and how people can contact you. And for you men out there, if you're looking to hire a matchmaker, I would love to help you out. If you're looking for an Asian partner to get married or not to get married. And for women out there who are single, eligible, a great catch, maybe you're having trouble finding a great partner online, and I would love to help you with that. I would love to be a resource. So just register with me at 2asiamatchmakers.com. Fill out a profile so I have your information so I can find you and match you up with men all across the US. And thank you very much, Elizabeth. Have a great day, everybody.